Hello class, and welcome back to the New Teacher Institute for class number 3. Today, our focus will be on educational technology and integrating it effectively into our lessons. Not just using them as teaching tools for content delivery, but using them in a way that helps students think critically, create, and communicate. So let's review our main objective for today. Our goal in today's lesson is for you to understand the various types of educational technology resources available to you as teachers so you can create a tech demo lesson for your students. This is the same thing that I do in all of my classroom lessons. I record a walkthrough demo of each one so all of my students can understand the material, even if they are absent. The video you're watching right now is actually on my YouTube channel. But you don't have to create a YouTube channel like you see mine here. However, you should be recording as many lessons as you can and saving them somewhere that your students can view them when needed, like if they are absent or they need extra support. With that in mind, let's go over our main focuses of what this session will be. So today's main focus is understanding how to use technology to enhance engagement and literacy in our classrooms. First, we'll quickly analyze some appropriate uses of AI and digital tools in the classroom. There are a lot of them out there, but not all of them serve our purpose or are appropriate for education. Then I'll go over some tools that are appropriate and available to you as teachers and how you can use them to create a tech-centered lesson plan that meets CTE standards. Then, once you create your lesson plan, I'll go over some recording options so you can begin working on your demo tutorial for your students. And then lastly, you'll reflect on your confidence and understanding of classroom technology. So let's start with the tool that is on everyone's mind, AI in the classroom. We've talked about AI before in previous sessions, and I know many of you use it in your classrooms already, but how can we actually use it appropriately? ChatGPT and other AI tools can be super helpful, but they also can be misused if we don't teach students how to use them responsibly. And here's some questions I want you to think about. First, is it okay for students to use AI in the classroom? And is it okay for teachers to use AI in the classroom? And if we're allowed to use AI to create lessons, does that mean it's okay for students to complete lessons? Does it help or hurt using it in class? Some of you who are already using these tools might assume everyone will just say yes, but I have met teachers and even students who don't want anything to do with AI. And I'm not saying that yes or no to any of these is right or wrong. It's just something to consider. Do you think that we are hypocrites if we're saying no to one and yes to the other? But really, you should only be answering yes to any of these questions if you can also answer yes to our last question, which is actual learning happening. That's the key. If you are letting your students use AI in class, but they're using it to just do the work for them and not actually learn the content, then that means you need to revisit your lesson or how your lesson is structured. That being said, let's look at some pros and cons on how we can use AI in general. Some of the obvious pros that you, me, and your students are using for AI is that it saves time and it makes things more efficient. It can help support differentiation by quickly helping accommodations for diverse learners, and it can give us an idea when we're stuck. We can give it a prompt to generate several ideas that we can use as jumping off points. All of these are extremely useful. And right away, all of us as humans, we just want to save time. We hate doing tedious work, and if there's a faster way to do something, we'll usually want to follow the path of least resistance, so that makes sense. But AI can also have some obvious and not so obvious cons to it as well. It can often be inaccurate or biased. We can become over-reliant on it, and it can lead to plagiarism if we're simply just copy-pasting. And if we become so dependent on it, we lose our fundamental creativity and problem solving. It makes sense to use this tool to ask for help if you have a problem that is tough to solve, but if you're not careful, it can lead to these problems and more. So always double check what it says, because errors and bias can be big problems and reduce your credibility as well if you're not careful. Full disclosure, I used AI to help me draft my outline and research some of my talking points on educational technology for this very presentation. And one of the tools it suggested using is Google Jamboard. But what it didn't realize is that Google Jamboard no longer exists. If I had just copy pasted that text into today's lesson and told you to try it out, you would have let me know and said, hey, Jamboard doesn't exist, you're wrong. And that would automatically reduce my credibility on this subject matter. And even though AI helped me generate these ideas, I still had to work hard to verify and do my own research and make sure current website links and sites were working. And While these are some obvious cognitive and emotional drawbacks, there's actually one big physical downside to using AI as well, and that's how much electricity it actually uses. It uses a lot more power than you might realize, which puts a strain on the power grids. I've noticed in my class observations that several school sites have already had multiple power outages recently. Research says that in the next 5 to 10 years, AI could consume up to 20% global electricity use. So, if you use AI a lot and you've noticed an increase in your electric bill, that might be why. So, those are some examples from me, and now I want you to think about this question. What is one way that AI has helped or hindered learning in your classroom? I just listed some pros and cons for me personally. It helped me draft my presentation, but it did give me inaccurate information that I had to fix. So, how has AI affected you this year, whether positively or negatively? Think about that. I already know a few examples that some of you have told me, but it is something important to reflect on. So, think about that, reflect on it, and we'll move on to what tech tools are actually supposed to do. AI and technology are just like any other tools in the classroom. They're only as good as the purpose behind them. As a photographer, I get this comment all the time. I'll show someone one of my photos and they'll say, "Wow, your camera takes really great pictures." And I'll say, "Yes, and my stove makes really great breakfast." The tool itself doesn't complete the job on its own. It also takes skill, direction, and design to create something. Our goal is to use tech to empower student learning, not to automate it. We want students to think, not to just click. An effective technology-based lesson plan should build literacy with the students to help develop their reading and writing skills. It should foster collaboration where they learn how to work together. And it should inspire reflection where they realize how they can use the technology in their future careers and grow as humans. Just having the students use Chromebooks to write on Google Docs doesn't mean that they're effectively learning technology. An effective tech tool fosters learning in ways that other tools can't. Typing in a Word doc is just an alternative to writing on a piece of paper. Technology should help the students create things that they can't create on paper, like build a website, make a video, or design a presentation. So let's take a look at some of the tech tools that can actually help us do exactly that. Here are some free, easy to use tech tools that can be used across any subject or CTE pathway. Some of them you may already be using, and some might be ones that you'd like to try, and I provided links to all of them in this presentation. They're all either free, have a free tier to get started, or are free to teachers. So here are some that you or your students can use to create presentations. Google Slides, aka PowerPoint for Windows or Keynote for Macs. They're your basic usual versions to create a slide deck. These are the OG ones and the simplest to use that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Canva is probably a lot that you are familiar with as well. You can create endless things on Canva, including slideshows and infographics. Pear Deck and Nearpod are fun because they're more interactive slideshows, and you can create slides that students can participate with, so it's easier to foster their engagement. Next, here's some ways you can gather quick assessments with your students. Google Forms, as always, is the classic one. You can create quizzes and surveys. Ziplit is a fun one that has simple electronic exit tickets. I use this one all the time when I first started teaching, and I really liked it. Poll Unit is one of the polling websites like Poll Everywhere or Mentimeter. These are great for surveying students, not only for just assessments, but getting their feedback as well. And Quizlet is more of a fun way to do quizzes and reviews instead of just study guides in classroom or something. And one of the best ways that we all learn is to gamify content by making it more fun. Most of our kids love playing games on the computer, so why not actually make it educational while they're at it? Interland is a fun Google game that teaches digital literacy, and it looks like an actual video game with 3D models and characters and everything. You should check it out. Factile is one that allows you to play Jeopardy in class, similar to another website called Jeopardy Labs where you can play that game. GymKit, similarly, is like a game show style program. I played Jeopardy and other games in my class many times, and the kids actually really love it. And really, a game show is just like a test that's disguised as a game. We like taking tests when we feel like a game or like we're having fun. WordWall is another good one that I included in one of my teacher toolkits recently. It allows you to play multiple games. The thing I really like to use it for is to play bingo using our unit vocabulary words. I didn't include Kahoot on here because we're all familiar with it, and honestly, Kahoot is fine, but I think everyone's just a little tired of it. I used to play it a lot back when I first started, but then the students started groaning when we started playing it instead of getting excited. So I knew that was a sign that I needed to mix it up and find some other programs. So you can still use Kahoot if you want, and I won't judge you for it for sure, but feel free to just mix it up with some of these alternatives. And finally, our main objective for your students is that they should be creating something. The purpose of CTE is to create something relevant to our career pathways: presentations, videos, websites, infographics, some things where they can show their understanding of the content that isn't just taking a test. So here are a few sites that can do that. Google Sites allows you to create your own website. It's easy and it's free and can be applied to any of our pathways. Google Vids allows you to record and edit your own videos. A lot of these Google apps you may or may not have seen before because they're not always in the immediate group when you click on the apps icon, but they are included in the Google Workspace. Twisted Wave is a free online audio recorder and editor, which would be great if you wanted the students to complete some kind of audio-based project like a podcast or a news story. And on Padlet, you can create all kinds of things like collaborative boards that the students can work on together. You can also make presentations, videos, digital albums, all kinds of stuff. That one's a fun one. So here are some of the most common and effective tech tools for classrooms. Like I said, there are many more out there, but I didn't want a slide that just had 100 website links on it. So now that you've seen some of the universal tools, let's look at a few CTE specific ones that might be helpful. Here are some free, or at least free to get started, online resources that might benefit you in your specific content area. Maybe, again, you've also heard of a few of these before. Some content areas do have more tech resources than others just because of the skills required for it. Obviously, things like digital media, engineering, or business will have a lot more resources out there, but there are other tools for your pathway if you just do a little bit of research. These are some of the ones that I was able to find or that I felt might be most useful to you and your content. And again, all of these are links that you can try to click them when you view the presentation. Think about which ones you've seen before or which ones you'd like to get started experimenting with. So now that I've given you several options, let's start actually drafting your tech lesson. So the next thing you're going to do is create a lesson plan centered around using an educational technology. Remember, the most important thing about using technology is that it's meant to empower student learning, not automate it. Begin drafting your lesson plan using the same ROP lesson plan that we used last time and will continue to use in the future. Choose one or more of the tech tools that I just showed you, or you can choose one of your own if you found one that you like, and center the lesson around the students learning how to use that tool. As always, make sure you include the CTE standards in your lesson. And this one is especially easy because I think Anchor Standard 4 is technology, so that should be pretty easy. And as you're making your plan or having AI help you draft your plan, remember that the key feature is this. Put this in the prompt if you do it, that the tech lesson needs to be focused on students developing literacy and higher order thinking skills, not just to use the tool for a means to an end. Remember that having the students just Google search something or write on a Google Doc is not what this lesson is really focused on. The tech tool needs to involve the students creating something new with the technology that they couldn't normally do on paper. Something like creating a presentation, video, podcast, 3D model, something like that. So you're going to use all that to design your lesson. And once you have designed your lesson plan, the next step will be to record your tutorial. And yes, you will get to record yourself teaching your tech tutorial, and it's not as scary as it sounds. Recording your lesson is exactly the same as delivering your lesson in class, except it's just being recorded. So when you're delivering your lesson in class, you may or may not already be writing down your script or at least your talking points ahead of time so you can practice giving your lesson before you actually deliver it in front of students. And again, you may or may not be doing that, but I would recommend it if you're not, because having just something written down that you can refer to can be a huge help, even if you're delivering it in person. For this demo, you don't have to be on camera unless you really want to be. You can see an example of me on camera here, but this is just a file of me that I had the students practice in Premiere Pro. So you really just need to screen record and then narrate into your microphone as you're teaching the steps. And your video doesn't have to be the full 55 minutes, like a full period. It just has to be long enough for you to record your input and modeling portions of your lesson plan, which should only take about 5 to 10 minutes. So that should be the length of your video. And recording your lesson will benefit you and everybody in class. An issue I ran into in my first years, and some of you may be running into now, is when students are absent, and they miss important lectures or demonstrations, and you're trying to figure out how to get them the information somehow without repeating yourself in class. Having your demo recorded will help solve that problem. You can refer them to watch the video to get caught up and understand everything that they should be doing for the project. Not just absent students, but it also helps with all students just to recall information if there's a lot to know or study for. When my class would get further into our Photoshop unit, the more advanced projects had a lot more complicated steps and would be too much for any person to remember off the top of their head. But with the demo videos, the students could keep replaying the video, going back, watching the parts that they were fuzzy on, and make sure they did everything correctly. Again, doing this all at their own pace without me having to repeat myself 30 times. And this is a big one. It benefits students with IEPs, 504, EL students, and any student who needs accommodations. A question you're going to get a lot as a teacher is, how are you accommodating EL and IEP students in your classroom? And the answer is having recorded videos. These students can fall behind from the rest of the class from their learning disability, or they don't have a full grasp of the English language yet, and it can be really tough and frustrating for them. But having your demo recorded videos allows them to watch and follow along at their own pace. They can play and pause, they can turn on closed captioning if they're hard of hearing, and if you post it on YouTube, YouTube also has the ability to translate the captions into any language, making it easier for EL students to understand you. Here's a link to an example of one of my videos that I'm about to show you on the next slide of my demo teaching the students how to create their photography portfolios for their unit final. So here's just one of my demo videos for my channel where I teach the students how to build their portfolio using Google Sites, which is the tech tool I chose to focus on for this lesson. This lesson integrates writing, reflection, and visual communication because the students have to not only curate their best photos, they also need to write an About Me section, write a description for each photo, and provide peer critique and feedback to their classmates' portfolios. So you'll see here, I'll just play a second of it so you can see what I'm talking about. So over here, there's some content blocks that are just some presets that you can add to your Google Sites. The first one I want you to add is this first one right here under the content blocks with a picture and text. So you can see as a demo, this is just a narration of me recording my screen. And as I mentioned here, if it's on YouTube, there's a couple of things you could do down here. If you see this CC, that turns on subtitles and closed captions. So if I turn that on, now it will automatically create captions for the things that I'm saying. So click on that one. This first one is going to be your About Me section. So the title of this one is About Me, which is super helpful. And what you could do down here, if you go to the settings option, one thing you can also do that I didn't mention in case you never realize this, you can change the playback speed. So by default it's set to normal, but you can slow it down if you want to make my voice sound deep and low and slow, or you could speed me up and make me sound like a chipmunk if you want to get through it a little bit faster. But also in the settings, you can come right here where it says subtitles auto-generated. So it's automatically generating these things as I talk. And if you speak pretty clearly, they're usually extremely accurate. But if I click here where it says English, I can go to auto-translate. And I could find the language that one of my EL students might need. So maybe I have a student who speaks Spanish and I don't speak Spanish very well, so I could turn that on. And now you can see the subtitles will automatically be translated as I'm talking. So everyone should have that same title. And in the paragraph, you're going to write a short paragraph about yourself. So on the assignment, I posted an example. So you can see right here, those are some of the features that you can do. The auto-translate only works if you post it on YouTube. If you post it on Google Drive, you can still do the closed captioning, but it doesn't yet have the translate option. But using these features will support your IEP, EL students, and accommodation students in your classroom like I just mentioned. So you can see that Google Sites is an appropriate tech tool because it promotes higher order thinking of website design and portfolio evaluation. And this is something that can be done with technology. I also chose Google Sites as opposed to other website builders because it's super simple to use. It's already built into the Google Classroom environment. And most importantly, even though they actually publish their portfolio websites online, the website itself is private and can only be viewed by someone with a district email. So their personal information is not out there for everyone to see. Only our class with the link is able to view the website so I can protect student data and privacy. And website or portfolio design is something that can be utilized across all of our pathways. We all focus on teaching the students on how to start their own businesses or careers, and building a website is a really important step in that. So it works perfectly for any kind of project. So now that you've seen what a tutorial looks like, let's talk about how you can start recording your first one. It's easier than ever these days with all of the resources that we have available for content creation. It's kind of crazy. But here are some screen recording softwares that you can try. All of them are either free or at least have a free trial that you can try out. I'm not going into long tutorials for each one of these because that would take too long, but I will and can help you if you need support figuring any of these out. And just like any new program that you're learning, you'll need to take a little bit of time to fully understand it and all of its functions, but most of these will be fairly easy to use and get started with. The first one is the snipping tool. This one is the default program built into PC computers that are running on Windows. You've all been issued an ROP PC laptop from our IT guy Rock, so everyone has access to this one right away. Just search for it in your apps to find it. If you have a Mac and you want to use that instead, you won't have the snipping tool, but you do have QuickTime. This is the default Mac player and recorder software, and it's also extremely simple to use. Screencastify is a web-based recorder, so you can record this online via a browser like Google Chrome. This one's also great if you need your students to do a recording of their screens for a particular project. You can use this. ScreenPal and Loom I put together because they're very similar to Screencastify. They're also online, but they have a desktop app you can download and use too. But for me, I would recommend Screencastify just for the sole fact that you can record longer videos. Loom, I think, only lets you record about 5 minutes maximum, but Screencastify should let you record up to 15 minutes max in one video. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. This is a desktop program. It's not online. This one is open source and completely free, and you could do whatever you want on this one. This is actually the one I use all the time, and I'm using right now anytime I want to record something because it has so much versatility. The only downside to this one is that it's the most technical and it has so many features that it can be super intimidating to a new user who's not used to this sort of thing. So if you're the kind of person who really likes to explore technical programs and learn all the ins and outs and 1,000 things you could do, go for this one. I won't stop you. But if you're a beginner and you want super basic, simple software, I would not recommend this one because it can be very intimidating very quickly. The last two are ones that only have free trials, not so much free versions. So you will have to pay for these ones, but they are pretty popular with creators, especially Camtasia. A lot of creators like to use that one because it has so much versatility, just like OBS. It's a bit more user-friendly, but it also is a lot more expensive. So these are the top screen recorders that are out there and available to you now. The ones I recommend for those just getting started are one of these top 3 because they're the simplest to get started with, and the first 2 are already built into your computer itself, so you don't have to download any kind of third-party app. But pick any of these that you want to use to start recording your lesson demo. Another quick tip is to go to your computer settings and increase the size of your mouse or download some kind of mouse highlighter app just so you can see just like you can see me doing here. You saw me using this one in my demo. This makes it easier for my mouse to be seen because it's easy to get lost if your students are trying to follow a mouse that's too small on screen. So let's recap everything we have learned today. We discussed appropriate AI use for teachers and students. We explored universal and CTE tech tools. We learned how to start designing our tech integrated lesson plan, focusing on literacy and higher order thinking. And we previewed a recorded lesson and talked about the various tools you can use to start recording your demos. The last thing we'll do is wrap up by completing a survey so you can reflect on your confidence in using technology in the classroom. So attached to this lesson is a Google Forms survey. Please complete that survey immediately after you finish watching this video. There's 2 types of questions on it. Quantitative questions where you'll rate your confidence and understanding of technology in the classroom based on this lesson you're watching, and qualitative questions where you can write longer answers and let me know more specific opinions and feedback on the material. I was using anonymous surveys with poll unit. However, not everyone was completing the surveys, and I do need everyone to complete the surveys, please, because completing them is part of your logs for clearing your credential and improving this program in general. These surveys are designed to benefit you. I need to know if I am truly helping and providing accurate information in ways that you can understand, and helping me improve makes things better for you so you get more out of these sessions. And so in addition to the surveys, let's talk about the artifacts you'll need to turn in following this session. Last slide. Let's wrap up. These are the things you'll need to complete, and as always, you must turn them in via the Google Classroom assignment. The first thing is the reflection survey that I just mentioned. That is attached as a Google form. Please complete that immediately following this video and reflect on the material I just showed you. The second thing to turn in is your tech integrated lesson plan that you plan to teach. Use the same ROP lesson plan template from last time and turn that in as a PDF. And the last thing you'll turn in is your recorded video. Yes, you will need to make an actual recorded video demo for your lessons. You will record it and download it as an MP4 file. That is a video file, and turn that in. The survey is due immediately. I know usually I have project deadlines be the end of this current week, but since this is a bit of a longer project and we have holiday breaks right around the corner, I know it will take you a little bit of time to complete it for the video and the lesson plan. So you can turn those in together and have those due by Friday, December 5th, before our fourth session together, which is scheduled to be for December 9th. During that time, I will be on my paternity leave. So just like today's session virtually, I may or may not be able to be present during that date, but I or someone from the district will let you know and continue to communicate or reach out to let you know what the plan is. So that's all I have for you. Thank you again for watching. Have fun making your demos, and as always, please reach out to me if you need any help or have any tech questions at all.